What's up, guys? I wanted to do a quick video on some, I don't want to call it new information because it's not new information, but some stuff I didn't know. And as I've told you guys before, I'm always like behind everyone else because I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Twitter. I'm real old school. As you could see, these videos are always low quality. I don't really even know how to edit. I wish I could sort of add and insert video clips where when I'm talking about things because it's a better way to communicate and show people what you're talking about. But I don't know how to do any of that stuff. It would be too time consuming. I just don't have time for that stuff. So, you know, when you watch my stuff, it's gonna be really low tech commentary. So I do the best I can, but you know, uh, not everybody can do the same thing. But I want to give a shout out to Jim Wilson, who sent. If you guys are wondering what I'm looking at my computer. I'm upstairs now, but I do check my comments and stuff, and I like to try to communicate with people as much as I can. Um, but a shout out to Jim Wilson who sent me a Game Informer link. And I didn't catch the Game Informer article. Like I said before, I saw a bunch of articles. There's a lot of them. And I did somehow I missed Game Informer, and Game Informer is probably one of the biggest publications out there when it comes to video games. So, I didn't even really search for them. I just kind of saw whatever popped up on Google. But thanks for the link. I did go, I read the article, and I found a few interesting things and also a confirmation of a couple of things. And I'm sure some of you already know by now, and obviously anyone who saw this article already knows that yes, it's been confirmed that there are not going to be, you can't hire drivers. So that's now been confirmed in this article. And like I was talking about in the earlier video I did, there's no room for interpretation. It's just not, it's not in the game. So give me a second. I'm gonna go right to the link, and I want to go through it a little bit. So, there's NASCAR Heat 2s. They're talking about career mode goes back to the garage, which we know. NASCAR Heat 2 career mode, more about signing contracts, meeting sponsor objectives, uh, and than it was about actually building actual organization. They're talking about NASCAR Heat 2. You can still sign contracts with teams in Heat 3, but after earning enough money in the game's early stages, you can start one of your own, which we know. This, however, is a single owner operator company. So unfortunately, you won't be signing different drivers for multiple rides. So now it's official. It's been confirmed. This article came out 3 days ago. So yeah, I'm late on this. But I do appreciate, and I've always asked you guys, any information that you want to, you know, send me a link to, or just let me know something. You'll be helping me out because I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on Facebook. So, I appreciate the information. So, unfortunately, it's going to be single owner operator company. Now, it's a big disappointment for me, but I'm you got to keep things in perspective. We didn't even think we were going to get ownership, ability or to spend money and stuff like that. We've been asking for stuff like that, and they just, they put it in. So when you want to be realistic, and I try to be realistic as I can about these things, it's a lot to do. And like I said earlier, uh, it, they've only been working on this game for a few months. I mean, they didn't take an entire year. And right now, I would expect that they're in the final stages of development. There's 2 months to go before release, so is it they for them to squeeze as much as what we've read about and seen in the trailer in just a few months, I have to commend them. And yeah, I am really disappointed. I think the ability to sign drivers and also be able to drive, you want to be a multi car team, where with more than one driver. And I think that adds a whole new layer of excitement in the career mode. And you're not only, paying attention to how you're doing, but your stable of drivers. That stuff, there's so much potential there. And 704, this better be one of their top priorities for the next game. I expect it to be. And when we first got all this information, I told you guys, we're not going to get everything we want, and the stuff that they are implementing isn't going to go super deep, but it's still a big step in the right direction. And so as disappointed as I am with not being able to assign other drivers, it's still, there's still a lot of things to like, and I'm still excited about the game, but it sucks. I What can I tell you? I do expect them to address this stuff in the future. One other thing that was also in the comment section, and it was something I wanted to talk about in the earlier video. I always do these videos. I don't really do a lot of prep for them. Sometimes I'll write talking points down on a piece of paper that I know I don't want to miss, but I'm not at work today. I usually do my videos at work. I'm off today, and I didn't even have plans to do a video today, but I did. And now with this little bit of extra confirmation, sort of, it ties into what I was talking in the earlier video, deciphering information and stuff. But I am excited still, and there's still time there, and I do expect them to talk about more details, because even in this article, as with all the other articles, there's still a lot of things that are unanswered, like the sound, uh, the spotter. How has that been improved? Things like that. But this is one thing that we can check off the list. Or I should say, confirm that it's not in the game. So it sucks. I share your pain if you're one of the people out there who was looking forward to that. And all we can do is push 704 to make sure that they do implement that in the next game, and really branch out from what they're already doing, and keep pushing forward. um and like I said earlier, now that I know it's not in the game, the good part of that is I'm not constantly wondering. And when I buy the game, I'm not like, okay, once I'm in the game, am I gonna be able to hire a driver and then find out that you can't? I'd rather know now. It's better that we know now. So that's out of the way. We can focus on other things. So let me go down further. So you won't be able to sign drivers for multiple rides. Okay, moving on from that. Unlike last year, you'll manage important team aspects like R&D, employees, departments covering engine, aero, and suspension, upgraded with funds, team funds, and employees are hired to provide performance boosts. The game's initial trailer demonstrates an example from Extreme Dirt, showing a facility capable of supporting 6 different car bays. Okay, we know all this stuff. So this is pretty much what we've read on in other articles and seen in the trailer. This is exactly the kind of structure I expected from NASCAR, and expected NASCAR Heat 2 to adopt, instead of regressing from the first title, which is true. In the first Heat Evolution, we were able to sort of fiddle around with R&D. It was very bare bones and basic, and it did have that feel of like something from a mobile game, but it was better than nothing. And then they took that away and went with this rating system, which nobody really liked. But they're going back in the right direction, so that's good. Now that my appetite is whetted, I'm curious if you have any control over R&D, etc. if you only sign a contract with an existing team, if you can do so, fill the shoes of an existing driver versus a created one. Okay. What are the paint shop options? Okay, so customization. They're asking the question, what are the paint shop options? Can you own and control organizations in multiple racing series? On this last question, I know you can race in multiple series at once. You have to decide which ones you're going to participate at the beginning of each season. But whether that's only through contracts, owning multiple race teams is unknown, or a mix is unknown. Okay, so in this article, they're asking these questions, but they're not providing answers. So those are unknown. So even though this person did play the game, it was limited. Um, so it's just more questions that we already have. The paint options is unanswered as well. Um, I have a feeling there's no paint booth, and like I said before, I'm expecting they're not. I'm not going to be shocked at all. I do expect that they, did something to add to the paint options from last year, the customization options. Adding templates, adding numbers, fonts. Being able to put your name on the cars, use your real name. I do think that some article somewhere did confirm that, but I don't remember for sure. I do think that you definitely can use your own name this time. Whether you could put it on the car is another thing, but I do hope that it's in there. Uh, let's see. Finally, career mode, getting some needed driver personality through more driver videos. This is the one thing I don't care about, don't like, don't want to see anymore. Where they do videos with real drivers that, for these quick after the race cutscenes where they talk to you. I hate that stuff. It just looks cheesy. Um, and it just, to me, is disconnecting from the game. I've read any cutscenes, I want them to be rendered as part of the game, animated stuff. And it just keeps everything on the same page. This when some video just pops up and it's one of these drivers talking to you, I don't like it at all. Hopefully next year they get rid of that, but they're adding more this year, so expect that. Maybe some of you guys like that, and that's a welcome thing. It's just I don't know what it is. I hate that, but it's in the game. So this time, however, it won't just be Keselowski talking to you. Each series will have an individual mentor. Hmm, that's something I haven't heard before. Now, mentor is something that we've seen in old NASCAR games where you had an agent. There was a guy, I think his name was Ace Moneymaker way back in the days, and he would call you and text you and stuff. Um, you know, most of these sports games now, they all have some kind of mentor, whether it's a coach or whatever. And I think it's a good idea. I think it does add something, and you kind of feel like you're immersed in the sport, and somebody's keeping you up to date on how you're doing, and it's just I think it's a good thing. But if they're purely doing this from these video clips, it's, to me, I mean, I don't know. I'll keep an open mind. Let's see what happens with that. But that's something else I'm finding out now. But each series is going to have an individual mentor, which is good because you don't want the same guy the entire game. So, okay, it's a little bright light coming out. I don't know. Who the drivers are, however, are still to be announced. Again, I don't care. The cover features Hendrick Motorsports. Who cares? So it's a good bet they'll be doing the honors. Maybe that's why they're making such a big deal about this Hendrick, the cover and the big announcement. Maybe we're going to be talking to Jimmy Johnson and Chase Elliott and these other guys. Okay, it is what it is. Back to the beginning. Just as NASCAR Heat 2 expanded with trucks, 3 going back to its roots by bringing back Dirt Series. We know about the Dirt Series. No such thing in real life. If you're saying that there's no such thing in real life, you're right. 9 tracks, mix of real locations, fantasy tracks. Okay, so okay, we know it's a fantasy series, fantasy tracks. Again, uh, in case you don't know, I love that idea. I do actually, honestly, I know a lot of people wanted either Arca, KNN, or some other series. I think it's actually a good thing that they went with a whole fantasy thing. I like it. We used to see stuff like that back in the old days, and I think it gives them a lot of breathing room to just do what they want to do. They don't need to worry about licensing, and gives them a chance to sort of expand on their own imagination. Uh, I don't mind at all. If you got 3 official series with the trucks, Xfinity, and Cup, then having one be a fantasy league, which is based on dirt and stuff. I love that idea. I think it's a positive, and I do think that if I was the one making the decision, I think that's exactly what I would have done if somebody proposed that to me and said, "What do you think about just doing a whole fantasy series?" I would have immediately said yes. Forget this other stuff with the K and Arca, or whatever the case is. So I do really applaud them for taking that direction. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just fun, and you don't have to worry about, oh, they didn't get this right. This is not how it really is. No, now it's a fantasy series. There's one that's a road course, and I've seen other people when they talk about it, they have their own reservations because they feel like a a dirt cars on a road course, that's just doesn't sound right, or it's going to be a mess. And I'm like, you know what, who cares? It's a fantasy series, and it's something different. All the other courses are ovals, so you got one that's a road course. It doesn't hurt the game. It adds something different. And like I said, because it's all fantasy, I love it. I think it's a great idea, and I really do commend them for taking that decision. That's a good decision on their part. And I don't take it that serious. And it's the first series. Once you get past that series, if you don't like it, you don't have to play it anymore. And it's different, and I like it. So let's see. Now, this is where it gets interesting. He says he got a small taste of dirt cars at E3. Even after a few laps, I liked it more than racing trucks in the dirt in NASCAR Heat 2 because I didn't feel like I had to carefully inch around the track. It felt comfortable racing fast and loose. This is one of those things that I was talking about that is open to interpretation. On one hand, he says I liked it more than racing trucks and dirt in NASCAR Heat 2. So okay, you liked it more. Okay, what I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't know if this guy's really hardcore into these type of games, but then he says because I didn't feel like I had to carefully inch around the track. But we want don't we want these cars to be like you got to be careful and I mean I don't know if those are the right words, but it says it felt comfortable racing fast and loose. It almost sounds like it's easy. Depends who you are and how you interpret it. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not sure how to interpret this. It could be good, it could be bad. It depends how you look at it. And I don't really know this guy. I don't know. Like I said, if is he a hardcore gamer in the racing genre? Does he love race games? Does he love the physics and stuff like that? Or is he just a guy who just tries out any game and gives his opinion, but he's not really hardcore about it? And I'm not saying everybody has to be hardcore, but I would like to know if it's a guy who really knows race games and really appreciates race games. And then I could take this stuff and then I could weigh it. But I don't know how to feel about that. It just sounds odd because it says he likes it more than NASCAR Heat 2, but I didn't feel like I had to carefully inch around the track. Is that good? Was it easy to drive around? I don't know. And I don't want anybody to panic and say, you see, this is gonna suck too. I don't know. I walk away. I'm not even gonna pay that any mind. I just don't know what that means. So, and I know a lot of people are really worried about physics, myself included, but we all have our certain things that we're placing at certain priorities, right? For most people, I mean, for a lot of people, physics is like, okay, if they didn't get the physics, it's game over. For me, the most important thing was in terms of gameplay, not content, because I'm really big on presentation and all this other stuff. But that goes on the content side of things, right? To flesh this game out so it doesn't feel bare bones. But in the gameplay side, for me, it's AI. Because for me, how the AI races each other, how they race you, how competitive they are, that it has to me a bigger impact. Yes, physics are important. I'm not telling you that it's not, but you can have a lot of fun when you're racing other cars that are challenging but race more realistic, and even other games that are not really considered something as serious as a NASCAR game or something, you can have a lot of fun. I've had a blast racing other games, and the physics weren't that great, but it's still, I think how the AI races you, it just that has a huge impact on the fun and the entertainment you get out of a race game. That's my opinion. I place that slightly above physics, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're out your mind." That's just my opinion. And I'm not saying physics are important. They're important to me, and you really do have to work on that. But I'm more concerned about the AI because I'm a career mode guy, and I want this AI to be as good as possible. And that's never going to be perfect. And every game, it's a work in progress. Physics, AI, handling that stuff, it's never going to be perfect. They have to keep working on it, no matter how good it gets. And that's for any race game. No developer ever works on a game and just says, you know what, we did a great job with the physics and the AI last year. Just leave it alone. Work on other stuff. No, you always got to go back and keep tweaking on it and tuning on it because it's never going to be perfect. But you want to keep improving that because that is central to the gameplay. It's a race game. So, okay. So, where are we? Third seat time. From gameplay, from a gameplay feel perspective, Heat 3 feels a lot like Heat 2. Now we're going to do some more analyzing. And from what he just said, that tells me that the physics haven't, I mean, they, if they, I believe somewhere they did say they worked on it. Do not expect this game to feel dramatically different than Heat 2. And this guy just said from a gameplay feel perspective, Heat 3 feels a lot like Heat 2. So now, to me, yeah, there's some room for interpretation, but it's pretty clear to me. The physics are not really improved. So it's going to feel like Heat 2. And yes, that is somewhat disappointing to me, but it's going to be really disappointing to a lot of people who really, really want the physics to be improved. And I'm sorry for you guys, but my suggestion is to not hold out hope on that. It seems to me like it's the physics are the same, the graphics are pretty much the same. So the differences in this game are going to come from other areas, and hopefully, you know, I truly believe that if and this is a huge if they really did nail the AI or really make a decent level of improvement across the board, that you will enjoy this game in spite of it having a very similar physics. You know, I truly believe that. But it feels like Heat 2. It feels a lot like Heat 2. So this to me that's pretty straight up. That's how I interpret it, and there's not a lot of room for interpretation there. So it's not a direct quote, it's not a direct confirmation from 704, but the guy's telling you from a gameplay feel perspective, Heat 3 feels a lot like Heat 2. There you go. He's talking about physics. So that's another thing that I would put in the confirmation column is yeah, it's the same physics. The difference being developer Monster Games is encouraging more setup experimentation via 9 preset setups. So we know they added a bunch of preset setups, which is a nice step in the right direction. It's nothing huge, but at least people who don't really understand setups, like myself, you can try different and to be honest, 9 preset setups, 3 tight, 3 neutral, and 3 loose setups. So there's a lot you could tinker with in practice. And it's good, if you don't really understand setups, and then which are unlocked once you take the assists off, right? These can be tinkered with. So even when you pick one of these preset uh, setups, you can tweak on it. You could play with it, so you could still go and I'm sure that people who really do understand setups, they can probably do a lot with that stuff. But it's options, it's good. I like that. That's a step in the right direction. And it's more setups than I was expecting. When they said preset setups, I was thinking 3, 4 maybe different setups, but 9, that's that's a lot. So that's going to give you, even though the physics are not going to be really different, the setups are going to change the feel of the car. So it's something, Yes, we had that already, but a lot of people don't spend time in the setups and don't really understand it. And there's a big disconnect there that I've talked about. But this is a small step in the right direction. So that's something, I could definitely feel a difference between tight 2 and loose 2, for instance. And while you can be successful using any of them, you're going to be faster on loose 2 at the expense of stability upon contact. That's another thing about the physics that's kind of giving you a clue. And if you use a loose setup, you're probably going to lose control of the car a little easier if maybe bump up against somebody or whatever. So it's an arcadey way of addressing this stuff. This is not a simulator. Uh, so it is an arcadey type of game. And yeah, I would like them to kind of try to get a little more serious with simulation. At least just put it a little bit in that direction. But it's something we're gonna have to be on top of. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a bad game. So let's see. You're going to want to try these out during practice, during which you can also make use of the new dynamic racing line, which we knew about. There's that race line. It's totally optional. You can switch it off, which is only available during practice. So you can't even use it in the race. So it's just something to practice with. And for people that are new to these type of games or to a NASCAR game, the race line does help. And it's a positive. Anything you can add to a game as an option, it's good stuff. So now here's another thing that I wanted to hear about in this article. I excites me to a point. Speaking about the AI, right? So it says, speaking of lines, Monster Games is trying to do a better job of having AI racers use more race grooves on the track, spreading out in general. my biggest complaints about the AI is one, they don't spread out, they stay in packs, they don't race different lines, and the pit strategy and the competitiveness. So here he says trying to do a better job of having AI racers use more racing grooves on the track and spreading out in general. So hopefully this means they will start spreading out more and sooner, using different grooves, maybe racing different lines. So it's a confirmation that they worked on it and that they're pushing for that. Now, did they execute? Is it really going to work well? That's the question. It remains to be seen. But at least there's confirmation that that's what their goal is. So I am excited about that. And that is a very important aspect of the game that needs, that will affect the gameplay. So, moreover, the studio says it's implementing better pitting logic so that the AI cars pit when it's smart to do so, as well as take some gambles in the hopes they can steal a win with good strategy. And that's the other big shoe that just dropped. Pit strategy. And they said they worked on it, and they're working on it, and to have the cars pit when it's smart to do so, as well as take some gambles in the hopes that they can steal a win with good strategy. So that's good stuff. And just that's, pretty much a confirmation that they worked on it. I hope that they actually execute, because I really believe if they executed well on all this stuff with the AI, the game's going to be more fun. You're not going to just blow, you know, just dominate and you know, just have the races ruined by stupid pit strategy, or these cars just staying in packs and not spreading out. I have high hopes for it. Now I shouldn't say high hopes because there's always that skepticism, but this is what I wanted to hear in terms of the AI. So that's another good thing. And then it goes to, okay. Now he's saying, I really hope these aspects of the gameplay in Heat 3 pan out, because they could make a big difference to the race's outcomes, making them more exciting as well as realistic. Okay, so this is just the person who wrote the article, his opinion, and he hopes. So he's basically echoing what I just said. I'm hoping that it pans out, meaning that they execute on this stuff. So that's exactly what I just told you. Because they could make a big difference to the race's outcomes. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. That makes a big difference. And yeah, the physics, we want better physics. We do. But I do believe that will have a bigger impact. So that's just how I feel. Racing with peers. Okay, this is online. Addition of tournaments. Some of the details still have to be worked out. So there apparently, I guess that's something that's not finalized. There's going to be tournaments. Players will be seeded into tournament tiers based on performance, and multiplayer players will have a certain amount of time to race in order to make it to the next tier. I guess you gotta spend time online racing, and then somehow you'll be placed in certain tiers depending on how you do. I see a huge, I mean, online racing, I've always said it, it's always going to be a mess because of people. It's not really the developer, because they've made it, where you can race 40 people online. The connections are pretty good, you're not, it works pretty well. It does what it's supposed to do. The reason online racing is a mess is people. And I don't know how people are going to be properly placed in tiers to enter these tournaments when you're hoping to get into lobbies with people that, are they going to race clean enough so you can actually get a decent finish, or you're just going to be a bunch of ping pong balls and wherever you land it's going to affect your rating. So that's not 704's fault. it's the nature of the way things are. So I don't know if they can. I would rather have them say something I've always wanted to see, which is like a non. You can make it like a ghost lobby where you can't make contact with other people. I know it's not realistic, so I get it. But at least you can get a gauge of people and their performance ability depending on lap times and stuff like that. And you're still kind of racing each other. I mean, it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto 5. They have a non-contact racing option. It's just an option. So you don't have to lose your shit over it, but at least you can have clean outcomes where you can be placed in certain tiers. I don't think this can work. You're just gonna, I mean, you could be a really good racer and just end up with terrible ratings because of other people. It's just, I don't know. I can't get too much into it. The rewards for winning a tournament in your tier still have to be worked out, as does the tiering system. How the tiering system is going to reconcile those who do or do not use stability assist. So yes, of course, you're gonna have different tiers and lobbies, and you know you're gonna have assist on, off, whatever. I'm sure you'll have all those options. So that ends the article. So we saw a few things there that I wasn't 100% sure of. We now know that you can't drive sign drivers to your team. Um, and we know that pretty much know that the physics are going to be the same pretty much. So those are two negatives in the negative column. And then positive that yes, they confirmed they worked on the AI. I mean, they claimed exactly the things I wanted them to talk about. The pit strategy that's supposed to be improved, AI spreading apart, running different lines, and as it's been confirmed in other articles, yes, they're going to be much more competitive at the highest setting. Those are really, really huge if they execute and they actually get it to work. That's going to make the biggest impact in the gameplay, right? And then you have all this other stuff that concerns, the team ownership and the presentation and stuff. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride, and there's a lot to be excited about. But so we can check off a couple of more things. As I said, 704. This stuff, all this pertinent information should be on their website. We shouldn't have to fiddle around and look for articles. This article came out 3 days ago. I didn't even know about it. So I'm grateful to you guys when chime in and let me know what's going on. But at least even with the bad stuff, you know about it now. It's not going to be like when I buy the game, I'm expecting this to be in there or this to be fixed, and it's really not. So it's a good thing because then you can kind of focus on what is there, you know, and I'm being as fair as I can. So yeah, I'm still excited, and the AI stuff really has me excited, and the physics and the not being able to hire drivers and have like multi-car teams, that's a letdown. So it is what it is. But this is what I wanted. I want to know this stuff now. So what do you guys think? I hope some of you at least got this as new information. Maybe you learned something. If not, then you just heard me talk about a lot of stuff that you already knew about. So for that, I don't know what to tell you. Uh, so when there's something else to talk about, I'll do another video, and I look forward to your comments. Later.